One tip with Striker is if you're ever trying to one-shot a hatch with her shotgun, all you have to do is make sure that the top of your crosshair lines up with the top of the hatch, and the bottom of your crosshair lines up at the bottom of the hatch as you're looking at the hatch diagonally, and you will one-shot the hatch every single time. Now that was just one out of 75 different operators that I'll be showing you one little niche trick with. The second of which being for Sledge. Now, if you want to get a free grenade kill from below and you know exactly where someone's sitting, as Sledge, all you have to do is shoot open a little bit of the floor, don't get the second portion, only get the first, then throw your grenade in the floor, and as fast as you possibly can, so that you don't blow yourself up, just sledge the floor like this. And it will do a little bit of damage to you, but you will get a free grenade kill, so if you're full HP, do it. If not, you might die, but still something cool you can do. Next up, we have Thatcher. A lot of you don't realize that if you throw a Thatcher at an enemy, it will actually disable their crosshair. So if I know where an enemy is and I just throw an EMP at them, just like this, I can disable their crosshair, which makes it a lot harder for them to aim, allowing you to get like a free kill. If you don't die like that, of course. Now, if you don't play Thatcher and you like to play somebody a bit more fast-paced and you want to do an Ash Rush, make sure that anytime that you do an Ash Rush through a barricade, you put the Ash Charge in the corner of the barricade. That way when you run through, you don't take any damage. Next up is Thermite. Now, if you're ever attacking the kitchen bomb site for Oregon, there's this cool thing you can do where if you put your Thermite next to this ladder inside of small tower and you blow it up, it'll get the wall even if it's electrified, allowing you to vault over it and go for a plant behind the couch. The next operator is Twitch, and I have this cool drone spot you can get with Twitch to get a bunch of free utility. If you're ever on Chalet attacking the top floor, make sure that you rappel up to the solar window. Then open the solar window just like this, and throw your drone at this wood chase just like this. Your Twitch drone should have landed on the wall right here, allowing you to get a great solar cam, and you can get pretty much any utility in solar for absolutely free, which is great for a Twitch player. Plus, this is hidden, so it's not like your drone's gonna get shot unless somebody's like physically on the window. So this is an amazing spot you can abuse in your ranked games. Now, next up is Monty, and to be fair, it's really hard to find any tricks for Monty that actually do anything for this video. But something that I love doing is dropping this red hatch right here. And you can literally just sit on this door and block anybody who's here with a shotgun from killing any of your teammates. And your teammates can just drop for free. It's really fun to do as Monty. And then you can just push into piano and win your team the round with smoke grenades. Next up is Glaz, and I have a really cool angle on bank I want to show you. Now, if you have a drone in lobby and you can see if lobby is clear, once you know that lower lobby is clear, all you have to do is press your rappel button and then don't move down at all, just hit your rappel button. When you do this, you can look at all of Banana and they can't see your head at all. It's literally a head glitch, but you can see all of their feet. And then if you just scoot down just the tiniest bit right here, you can see all the way into detention and into Trump, allowing you to get a lot of free kills. If you're running suppressor as well, most of the people that you're shooting are going to think that you're on the lobby window rappel over here. They're never going to guess you're on skylight. And you can even see all the way into sight past this dresser if you shoot through it like this, and that allows you to see the sight wall. It's a really cool angle that you can even pair up with smoke grenades on the ledge here if you're able to hit that, and then they can't even see you because you're in a smoke. It's really, really nice. Now, next up, we have Fuse. Most people know the trick I'm going to talk about, but it's still a great trick nonetheless. If you come onto the canine balcony right here for the basement site, all you have to do is line up your fuse charge with the second post right here. Then put your fuse charge down like this. And when you explode your fuse charge, it's going to make a bunch of holes in the floor. These holes won't really do anything, but if you put a fuse charge almost in the exact same place you just did, right about there, it will put fuse charges in the exact same holes, allowing you to get a bunch of vert for sight for absolutely free. And if the hatch is soft, you can also get the hatch, but that's really besides the point. I just created a bunch of vert without having to play ram and expose myself on the door, without having to play buck, without having to play sledge, without having to use breaching charges. I just did it all from there. You can even go further up onto this post right here and get vert this way. I think that's how most people actually do it, but you have 2 more fuse cluster charges. So that means you can do both. Just line it up with this post right here, blow it up, then put your second one down right next to it, just like you did earlier, and blow that one up. And now you have even more vert, and you can see the breach just like that. And if this hatch is reinforced, you have hard breaching charges you can use for that as well. Just a cool trick that, even though it was a little bit known, I thought I'd show off in the video nonetheless. Now, next up is Blitz, and Blitz, again, is a shield operator like Monty, so it's pretty hard to find, like, a trick per se with this operator. But there is one trick that I do know, And that is, if you go on Chalet and you're on the highway right here, if you know that solar and bathroom are clear, you can literally just hop in this window early and just start taking piano, flash the guy here, and then now you just like have piano. In rank, this works especially because everybody's still setting up site, or they're on cams, or they're off site. A lot of the times, no one's even in piano if you're really early in the round, and then you can just take office and plant the bomb for free, and then you just won the round essentially. I do this a lot, not really in solo queue, but if I'm queued with friends, I'll do this and just have a guy like on my solar window and then on my bathroom window, and it's free kills if you want to rush with the team. Next up, I have a tip for IQ. Now, as IQ, one of the most annoying things about playing the operator is you can't get bulletproof utility. Let's say, for example, they have like a Malusi Banshee on the floor right here. Well, one thing you can do is you have frag grenades. So you can just spot something like, oh, okay, I see a Malusi Banshee right here. Then you can just open up half of the floor above you, and then you can just stick a frag grenade in the soft floor right below the Malusi Banshee, and then boom, it's gone. The next operator is Buck. Now I want to show you this cool angle you can get with Buck if you're ever attacking kitchen. All you have to do is break open the mining floor just like this, and then from here you can open up the wall in kitchen right here, and this will allow you to sit all the way back in mining and watch people behind the counter in coffee. As you can see, that's what I'm talking about, the little counter behind that people like to sit behind. You can just watch that for free. You can get a similar angle to the back of Freezer here as well by opening this wall. And now you can see the bomb chassis angle if anyone's trying to defuse the bomb. Now next up is Blackbeard, and unlike the other shield operators I've gone over, there are actually some pretty cool tricks you can use with Blackbeard. For instance, most people don't know as Blackbeard that you don't need to destroy or even touch a window to just rappel into it for free. If I want to do a site rush as Blackbeard, I can literally get on this window without having even touched it and just rappel in the window and it breaks. I'll do this on stream. I'll literally just rappel in this window. No one ever expects it, and I'll just immediately ADS and shoot people, and then now I have a sight. It's so easy to do. Next up is Capitao. One thing that is really underrated about Capitao is he's able to create one-way smokes. If you don't know what a one-way smoke is, it's essentially a smoke that you create that allows you to see somebody, but the smoke makes it to where they can't see you. For example, you can put a smoke all the way up here. If somebody were to walk into that smoke, you could see their head and their body and their feet. But if they were to walk in the smoke, because their head's in the smoke, they couldn't see you back. Let me resmoke it, obviously, because now it's dissipating, but you get the idea. If someone were to swing sandwich right now, they could not see me, but I could clearly see all of them because of just how perspective works. Their head is quite literally in the clouds. So you can abuse this if you're going for a plant or covering a teammate. Just put a smoke super up high and you'll be completely fine. Next up is Hibana. I'm going to show you this really common but still cool angle you can get on bank. If you're ever attacking the top floor, you can just rappel up to lobby right here, break open these windows, and then you can Hibana open what's known as the E3 wall. Just like this, and then when you open the wall like that, if anybody's playing in the hallway, you can easily kill them, or if anybody's in stock with like an Azami, you can just shoot them as they leave, allowing you to get a lot of free kills. I do this in ranked. Most people don't know about it because they're not like competitive players, I guess, or they're not really like in high elo. You can just sit here all around and get at least 2 kills, like every time. And then you can just look to your left, get kills over here too. And then when you're needed and lobby is clear, you just get up, rappel on the skylight, and you're fine. Next up, I want to talk about Jackal. Now, right now, there are footprints below me right here. These footprints are green, and if you have footprints that are blue or green, you typically don't want to scan them. The closer to the color blue the footprints are, the older they are, and the older they are, the less pings you will get. Whereas with red footprints like that, if you scan those, you'll get the most amount of pings because they are the freshest footprints. So make sure that you're scanning footprints that are closer to the color red for the most amount of pings, so that you can shit on kids like this. Now, recently, Ying did get nerfed to where if you fully charge a Ying Candela, instead of immediately flashing you when it's deployed, it actually will roll for a second or two, and then it will start flashing. People abuse this on defense by just shooting it as it's rolling and then not allowing it to be set off. A way you can prevent this is by throwing a smoke grenade, just like this, and then fully charging your Ying Candela and rolling the Candela in a smoke grenade. That way they can't see it, therefore they can't shoot it, but the blind will still go off and it will still blind them even though it's in a smoke grenade. You're essentially making it to where the one counter they have towards Ying no longer works, which is very, very powerful for you if you're able to pull this off. Next up, we have Zofia. Now, recently, Zofia gained access to hard-reaching charges. So, pretending that this hatch is reinforced, what you're able to actually do is put a soft breach on a floor like this. So, like, if you shoot open the wood right here, and there's a Cade Claw on this electrified hatch, you can just put a Zofia charge on this floor right here, which will break the Electro Claw, and obviously pretending that this hatch didn't break because it's reinforced. You'd break the Electro Claw, and then you'd literally just get the hatch all just by playing Zofia. You're able to literally counter an electrified hatch with Zofia. I never thought I'd say that in my life, but it's true. Now, next up, I have Lion. I think one thing that you can do as Lion that's really helpful is if you have a Deimos on your team, just use your ability at the very beginning of the round. Typically, if you Lion skin at the beginning of the round, people are still going to move around because it's not like them getting pinged is really going to do anything against them. So some people will just move around to make you feel dumb for scanning that early, but having those pings will reveal players and allow your Deimos to actually track more people. It's kind of a reverse psychology thing that can get you and your Deimos a lot more value than you might think. Next up is Finka. Now, if you're a good Finka player, you're using the LMG. And the cool thing about the LMG is it has 100 rounds, meaning you can sit here and dump this LMG for a long time before you ever need to reload. But when you need to reload, it takes a long time. And what a lot of people don't realize is that if you boost before you reload, you'll actually reload faster, which is really important when you're running an LMG. So make sure that anytime you want to reload this bad boy, you're throwing a boost and you reload faster, because even that with a boost took a long time. Next up, we have Maverick. Now, one cool trick with Maverick is that you can actually use his torch on barricades and completely silently enter a barricade without anybody knowing. All you have to do is aim at the 6th panel up in the barricade right here and just lightly tap it. It'll break those 3. And then you can aim in the middle of these 3 panels here, just like that, and that'll break those 3. And then you can just crouch through the barricade. And that made absolutely no noise. No one is going to know you just went through the barricade. And because you're barely using any fuel, you can just like continue to do this over and over again and just go through as many barricades as you want if you don't mess it up like I did. As you can see, I put it a little bit too low. You're supposed to have that one little bar at the bottom right there. I didn't do that. So make sure that you have the bar there. Otherwise, you're going to have to break it at the top like this, which will fully break the barricade and make a bunch of noise. As Nomad, placing your air jabs for flanks most of the time absolutely sucks, because if you have one competent player who's flanking, they can literally just shoot the tip of the air jab before they flank, which will make Nomad completely useless against most players with an actual brain. It's why I say Nomad is really bad for flanks and Gridlock is better in a lot of my videos, but most of you don't see the vision. The one time that Nomad is useful for flanks though is when you use her on a soft wall. For example, if I prone right here and I put a punch hole in the wall, just like this, then I can put an air jab in that punch hole, and that air jab is completely silent on the other side, but will still work and catch anybody on the flank. An operator better for flank watch, in my opinion, again, is Gridlock. But you don't have to use her for flank watch. If you don't know, Gridlock tracks are very loud when they're deploying. They're extremely loud. In fact, they're actually louder than the diffuse plant sound. So if you just put Gridlock tracks down while you're planting, they can't hear you planting. So it's kind of a cool thing you can do to mask the sound of you planting the bomb. Next up, we have Nook. Now, this is another operator that's kind of hard to have like a real trick for. But I think one of the best things you can do as a Nook player is sneaking into Garage of Bank. Now, when you spawn here, if you spawn here alone, don't shoot that Garage cam. With Nook's rework, your ability lasts an infinite amount of time, meaning that you can just walk up to Garage and nobody will know that you're there at all. You could even prone on this cop car and then get on your drone, but make sure you deactivate your ability, obviously, so you're not wasting it. And then you can drone Garage. And then if nobody's here, typically they'll have a Vault cam or a BP watching Garage, so they at least have something there. But because you're Nook, none of that is gonna work. You can just walk in and take Garage for free because most people don't even hold it. Again, they just put a camera in here. So Nook can just sneak in here and take Garage for free. Hold angles, and then walk in and get kills. Next up is Amaru, another really hard operator to come up with a trick for, to be honest, but there is this one rush that I really like to do on Canal. If they're ever top floor, Amaruing into one of the site windows is the dumbest thing you can do, but if you have a drone on the yellow stairs, you can actually Amaru into a window next to site, and then immediately just run up into Printer and take Skybridge for absolutely free. Next up is Kali. I have this really cool Kali angle that gets you a lot of free kills in ranked. All you have to do is go to bank, then open up this window right here, then rappel on the left side of the main entrance, break these 3 windows, break these 3 windows, and then through this window and through the double door into site, you can actually see the janitor rotate right there and kill anybody rotating in janitor. Another tip for bank is this cool tip with Yana. Now, if you're ever wanting to push lobby side, but you also want to clear Garage, maybe you're doing like a basement take or something, you can kind of use Yana's clone as like a Scopos teleport. What I mean by this is, like, if you get on a clone, you can walk all the way up to garage, and then once you're in garage, you can actually check, like, the majority of garage before your clone runs out, and you can prone see behind the van. Like, you can check all of garage, and then once you clear garage, you can just go to lobby and essentially clear, like, 2 huge chunks of the map at one time. And then by the time you're in lobby, your Yana clone's back up, and then you can do this again, where you go and you clear all of up top, just looking at all the rooms, right? I just checked all these rooms. I just checked marble stairs. I just checked stock. I just checked square. I just checked all of this. And now you checked all of garage, all of 3rd floor, all of lobby. The only place they can be is, like, 1st floor and basement. And you cleared, like, a third of the entire map by yourself within the first 30 seconds. It's kind of a powerful strat. Next up is Ace. Now, what a lot of people don't realize about Ace is you can put Ace charges on the floor next to a breach like this. Let's say there's a mute jammer right here, right in the middle of the wall. I can throw an Ace like this, and the explosion of that Ace will get the reinforcement and blow it open and pretty much get anything on the other side. I don't think it'll work if it's in a mute jammer. That was kind of a dumb thing to say, but if there's, like, bandits, you can just sit and get a bandit with 1 Ace charge and then save the other 2 for the wall. That'll get the bandit, right? And then you can just actually ace the wall open now. Obviously, it won't work mute because mute jammers go through walls. But against bandit, it's actually a pretty good strategy. And because you put the little breach right here earlier, you can actually crouch through the breach instead of having to vault through it, which allows you to place the ace just a little bit higher as well. Next up is Zero, and we're bringing it back to bank. Again, I know. But I've just got to show you the Zero camera for lobby really quickly. If you come into lobby and you shoot your camera above this pillar right here, just like this, no one is finding this camera, and it watches all of lobby. You can get the lobby default. No one's finding this. Like, even as an attacker with an ACOG, that's pretty hard to see, especially if you get it on the brown part right there. No defender with their 1x scope is going to see that, especially if they're in sight and they're too busy looking at lobby or looking at the rappels. That camera's going to stay up, and it's a great camera to have. Next up is Flores. Now, pretty commonly, if you're playing against the penthouse bomb site, people will put up castle barricade on this double window, and it's kind of hard to get to, but it's really simple if you have Flores. All you have to do is put a Flores drone on the ceiling just like this. Then there's this little ramp you can drive your drone up to, then drive it on the ledge, do a quick little 180, and then you can just jump at the window and then detonate your Flores, and you'll kill any castle that's on that window. Speaking of cool coastline tricks, let's talk about this trick for Osa on the hookah window. If you rappel up to the hookah window, upside down rappel, and put your Osa shield on the top of the window just like this, you can use the top of the shield here, as well as the top of the couch here to get a crazy pixel angle onto anybody in hookah, and they cannot kill you on this angle unless your aim is really that terrible. Next up is Sens. Now, after the recent Sens buffs, this is an operator that I think is really underutilized and an operator I've been experimenting a lot with. And in those experimentations, I found some really cool lineups on Chalet for the kitchen bomb site. And obviously, when you roll your gadget, you want your gadget to be off, just so you can save all your gas for when you need to activate them. But for the kitchen bomb site, the first Sens is going to go straight into this drone hole. We'll come back to that later. Your next Sens is going to go on the west main drone hole, just like this. We will also come back to that later. Your next Sens is going to go on top mez, just like this. And your final Sens will go from bar into the 45 hall, just like this. Now, what do those Senses do? Well, if you're trying to plant the bomb in the default spot behind this green box, the first Sens and the second Sens through both of the drone holes in sight will cut off the entire bomb site, allowing you to plant a lot easier. The third Sens lineup makes it to where not only is it easier for you to take library because you don't got to worry about mez, but you also don't have to worry about a flank. You can just sit and watch this and kill anybody flanking you. The fourth Sens is also for flank watch. If you don't want to have to worry about your bottom or top blue, you put this wall up and now you don't have to worry about your blue stairs. It's a great strat that I completely made up that you need to try in your ranked games, and just let me know how it goes. Next up, we have Grim, and on Coastline, if you go to the roof, there's 4 of these huge vents that lead to really key areas. This vent over here leads to the Aqua Bar, and this vent leads to the Cool Vibe Stairs. If you put your Grim Bee on its bounce mode, and you shoot it at the vent just like this, the Grim Bees will actually bounce through the vent onto a floor, and the bees will get anybody on the bottom of the vent wherever you throw your Grim Bees. It's pretty cool, and you should definitely try it. Moving on to Brava. If you're ever attacking the top floor of Canal, all you have to do is throw a Brava drone on this window just like this. If you break the glass here when you throw that drone, you're actually able to hack utility in Skybridge for free like Melusi Banshees, BPs, Valkyrie cameras, alibi clones, whatever it may be. You can just start hacking stuff from all the way up here, which is pretty cool. Now, as Ram, there's this really cool rush that you can do if you're ever attacking the top floor of Nighthaven Labs. What I see a lot of players do is they'll just get a drone inside of IT somewhere, and when they see that there's someone in rafters but they're not looking towards the window, after the IT breach is open, all they do is they'll ram the window and immediately hop in and start killing people. You have to be really quick about it, and you have to wait until the wall in IT is open so that these guys can't just turn around and shoot you, and if they do, they'll die to breach. That way you get the most amount of this rush. This was done in Pro League and it worked, so it can definitely work in your ranked games if you have a drone here and you can see what's going on before you hop in. Now, something you might not have known you can do as Deimos is actually cancel his ability to get information without them seeing you. So if I activate the tracker on this bandit really quickly, it'll show me where the bandit is, but if I spam my ability button, it'll cancel the track. And in that time where I was able to see him and I canceled my track, he actually wasn't able to see me. Because when I track somebody, it actually gives me the information about 2 seconds before they get the information. So if I track the bandit again, it's going to show me where he is, but because it takes 2 seconds after the track for him to see me and I spam my ability button, he's not going to see where I am. But I'm going to see where he is. So it's a great way to get generally just some information on somebody if you don't want them to know where you are, but you just want to know what room somebody's in. Now, for the final attacker in this video and the newest addition to the Rainbow team, let's talk about a trick you can do with Raura. Now, most people don't know this, and if you do, that's great. But let's say I want to double off this freezer double, but I'm outside this single. Anytime I try to get this double, I'm just going to end up hitting the single door instead. But if you ADS, it's always going to go to the door that's farthest away from you. And if you un-ADS, it's always going to go to the door that's closest to you. As you can see right now, I'm aiming at the single door, but when I ADS, I'm aiming at the double door. And then when I un-ADS, I can clearly get the single door. So if you ever are trying to wonder which door you're going to hit if you're looking in between two doors, just ADS or un-ADS, and you'll be able to do it perfectly every time. For the first defender in this video, let's talk about Sentry. Now, if you ever bring Sentry with a deployable shield, you can bring impact grenades, and if anybody puts an ace on your deployable shield, or they put a Flores drone that's activated or even deactivated in front of your deployable shield, you can actually use impact grenades to trick it off of your shield, and if you place it far away enough, you won't kill your shield, but you'll still get the utility on it. It's a little bit finicky because sometimes you might hit your shield, but if you don't, you can actually get away with tricking your own shield with Sentry. Next up, let's move on to Smoke. Now, usually you'll have a crouch rotate on the left right here for the basement of Bank, and you'll have a vaultable rotate on the left side of this wall for the basement of Bank as well. This is all pretty normal, but all I want you to do for Smoke is extend this just a little bit. Put this just slightly higher, and I want you to put this rotate also all the way to the ceiling, just like this. What this allows you to do is if they're ever planting in the default, you can prone and sit all the way back here and deny the default from lockers. As you can see, my smoke grenade landed right there, so if I were to activate it, that's killing anybody in the default plant. That's why you'll see people play smoke a lot on this bomb site if they're not holding blue stairs with the shotgun. They'll literally just sit here with smoke or Tachanka and then just lob stuff in the default. And because they're behind all this metal, they can't get shot, and it's literally just free denial every time. Going over as SAS brother, let's talk about Mute. There's this cool thing you can do with Mute on the basement of Chalet. If you put a jammer on the right side of the door here, as well as a jammer on the double wall right here, what happens is that nobody is able to drone out this hallway at all. This allows you to stand on top of this table, which is an off angle, and shotgun anybody on the door. If anybody's on this door, by the way, this is one pump distance. You will one pump people. As you can see, the shotgun spread is still small enough to be the size of somebody's body, so you'll hit every single pellet, allowing you to one-shot people, and because they can't drone you, they're gonna get surprised by this every time. You're also able to lob a C4 into trench if they're ever there by quickly peeking it and doing that, so it's a great strat you can do if you're a new player trying to hold the backside of the basement of Chalet. Next up, let's go over Castle. Now, typically when you're playing the gym bedroom bomb site, you'll have somebody Kate or Bandit tricking this wall, and having a castle on the door here is great. That way they can't shoot your person on the wall from the window. However, this castle becomes a problem when they enter gym, and now they have cover with this castle. However, if you don't know, castles also take 9 punches to destroy. However, if you melee it 8 times, this makes it to where if they do use the castle as cover, all you have to do is hit it 1 time and then kill them when they're planting the bomb. A lot of players will remember to put the castle here, but they won't remember to prep it, and it's something that you should be doing every time you play this bomb site. Moving on to the other FBI defender, let's talk about Pulse. A really cool thing you can do with Pulse is breaking this garage window on Outback, and then you can just pulse and see if anybody's outside of garage hopping on top of these metal containers to get onto the balcony. And if they are, all you gotta do is throw a C4, just like that. That C4 will land on the metal box and kill anybody who's there. Next up is Doc. There's not really that cool of tricks you can do with Doc, but there is one that I think is pretty interesting. Let's say you're playing rafters and they bring a Capitao, right? Typically, they're going to put Capitao bolts above you on the ceiling to fire you if you're in rafters. However, Doc can simply just prone and out-heal the fire. Now, to be fair, he's only able to fully out-heal one Capitao bolt. What you do is you wait for your HP to drop to about like 40, and then you use one Doc Stim. And then when it goes back down to 40, you use another Doc Stim, and then when it goes back down to 40, you use your third Doc Stim, and you've survived one Capitao bolt. The issue is when they use two, you can't out-heal that. The thing is, though, is that every Capitao player, when they're clearing rafters, they use one Capitao here, and they use one Capitao all the way over here. So as long as you're not running in between the two, and you're prone on this side or all the way on that side, you're only going to have to out-heal one, and you can just sit here and out-heal the Capitao, heal again, and then just swing them because they're not going to be expecting you to still be alive. If you survive there that long, they're going to assume rafters is clear, so you can just get up and surprise them and get free kills and maybe even live to tell the tale. Next up is Rook. There's really nothing you can do as Rook that's that creative other than use his armor to like block a drone hole. There's really not much you can do as Rook that's that creative except for like maybe block a drone hole like this. But even then, later in the round, they're just gonna shoot that, so it's not like that really does anything either. Next up is Capcan. Now, if you have Capcan's Elite skin, you're able to equip Capcan Elite traps. And this makes it to where, if you go into Clubhouse and you go to this bar door, the Capcan traps will blend in slightly with this little refrigerator right here. Like half of it will go inside the refrigerator for some reason, which allows you to kind of hide the Capcan traps a little bit better, especially if you put a barricade right here and then you unbarricade it. It'll leave this little like sliver of barricade left, and that's like really hard to see for an attacker because that kind of just blends in, and this gets me a lot of free kills a lot of the time, even if it's on the other side too. Like just the color of it blends in with the wood. I don't know, I find myself getting a lot of free kills here usually. Next up is Tachanka, and I want to show you a cool lineup that you can use again for the basement of Bank. Now, if you have the garage holes here open as well as some holes here, you can see the default plant. And all you have to do as Tachanka is sit all the way in the back of the garage where they can't see you and shoot fire right there, which will land in the default plant, not allowing them to plant the bomb, especially if you shoot it at the wall right there. Not even at like the breach, but at the single wall, just like that. As you can see, that fire covers the default, or at least a little close to it. That's more like it. You get the idea. Just shoot it at that wall from all the way in garage and you should be fine. Next up is Jaeger. Most people don't realize about Jaeger ADSs is you can actually use these through vert. So let's say I'm assuming somebody's gonna shoot a zero camera through the vert through here. They're gonna throw a nade through the vert. All I have to do is make that vert for them right here. And then once I have the vert made for them, I can just put an ADS right here. And then once that vert is made, I can just put the ADS right next to the vert. And the ADS will actually catch the grenade before it even makes it through the floor, because it'll actually point down through the floor and catch it as it's leaving their hand. Most people assume that the ADS only catches this 180 above it, but it goes below it too. It just doesn't really often have the chance for it to do that. But if you make vert below it, it'll catch things below it. The next operator is Bandit. Now, if you ever are in a situation where you have all of your bandits down except for one, like let's say I have two on the office walls, and then I have one on the solar wall right here, but I just don't know where to put my last one. Like, it doesn't really make sense to put the last one anywhere else. Well, if there's barbed wire on the map, it might actually make sense to just put it on the barbed wire. Now, essentially, this is a mute jammer. If they drive their drone up here, it's gonna die. This can actually be pretty useful. It's not really useful later because then they can just shoot it. But like early around, it's pretty nice to have. And it's better than just putting it on a random reinforcement in sight that they're never going to try to thermite or ace open anyways. Another operator that's great on Chalet is Frost. Now, sometimes frost mat spots are pretty obvious. Like this frost mat spot under mud window, that's pretty common in higher elo. So if you want a way to guarantee that even if they shoot your frost mat, you'll still down them, all you have to do is put two frost mats on one window. Simply place them vertically instead of horizontally. One slightly to the right of the window, and then one slightly to the left of the window, like this. there's no way that they can jump in the window and shoot both of these before hitting at least one of them, essentially guaranteeing that you get it down, especially if it's on a window somewhere like the single window in library where they can't upside down rappel and shoot them. Now for Valkyrie, I want to show you one trick for Chalet. All you have to do is get a Valkyrie camera and put it below this lamp right here. Now, because it's on a lamp, no one's going to really think it's a camera, and because it's behind leaves, it's even more hidden, especially if they're on the double door or on K9 double window. So this camera I found doesn't really get found, but if you look up, it still sees the majority of fireplace and the bottom of main stairs and in the bar, so it's a really good camera to have. Next, let's go over Cav. Cav's one of those operators it's pretty hard to come up with like a trick for, but one thing I will say is if you don't want to actually cancel her ability by canceling her ability, all you have to do is simply switch to her primary. The ability will not function if you don't have your secondary out, and if you have your primary out, switching to your ability will automatically make you pull your pistol out, kind of like Deimos. So if you want to cancel your ability, all you have to do is pull your shotgun out. I don't know why that would ever really be useful, but it's a trick, I guess. Moving on to Echo, there's a lot of cool tricks I could show you with Echo, but that's an entire video for a different day, so I'll just go ahead and settle on one. If you come into kitchen and you point yourself at this wheel right here and you walk into it, then you look up, break the glass right here. Then if you look under the lower bar of the cabinet just like that, you can actually fit an Echo drone inside of the cabinet right here. That way, if they're ever going for the default plant behind the bomb for a freezer take, you can just hop your drone out, get on the roof, and then deny the plant. Next up, I have this crazy mirror trick for the basement of bank. Now, obviously, you're going to put your first mirror on this wall right here. It's pretty standard. But then I want you to go into CC and from server into CC, reinforce this way. Not the other way, reinforce on this side of the wall. Then you're going to crouch and put your mirror as low as you possibly can on the reinforced wall, just like this. From here, you're going to then open the mirror. You might think that I'm really stupid for doing this, but here's the thing. Now they can't thermite this, they can't hard breaching charge this, and they can't Hibana pellet this, which means they can't get this wall open. The only way they can get this wall open is if they have an ace. They ace the top right here, and it'll get the top, it'll get the bottom, but then they have to vault through it. So unless they have another ace, they're not getting this wall open to plant the bomb. Even if they end up using 2 aces here, all you have to do is nitro cell on the mirror, and a well-placed nitro cell or an impact grenade will just trick all of the hard breach off anyways. So you can pretty effectively just make it to where they don't get this wall open and they can't plant in the default. Next up is Legion. Now, because of the changes to Legion a few seasons ago, there's now this radius of effect as you just saw with Legion mines, which means you don't have to be physically standing on the mine to get activated by it. So as Legion players, stop putting your Legion mines in the middle of doorways and start putting them on the sides of doorways. Because the radius of effect will go all the way to the middle of the doorway. If someone just walks in the middle of the doorway, they're still going to hit that Legion mine. But at least if it's on the side of the doorway like this, you're still hiding it and that goo mine will still hit them no matter what. Next up is Ella, and I think a really underrated part about using Ella is hiding her mines in floorboards. If you just shoot open the first layer of a soft floor like this, you can hide an Ella mine in a floor, and that way if they're going around looking for it with a Twitch drone, the Twitch actually can't zap it because Twitch drones can't look down. And then if they hop in the window and they're trying to like pre-fire it on the floor, they're not going to find it inside of the floorboard. So it's kind of nice to be able to do. You can even shoot both sides. That way if they go under, they get Ella mined, and if they go above, they get Ella mined. So you have like a two-way Ella mine going on. It's kind of fire. Next up is Vigil, and one thing that's very underutilized about Vigil is the fact that whenever you deceive a drone, like let's say a drone drones you and they see your Vigil scans, you'll get a little +10 on the right side of your screen that gives you +10 XP, and it says drone deceived. So you can use Vigil to hunt drones by just going around to rooms, hitting your scan button and seeing if XP pops up. If it doesn't, you deactivate it. If it does, you look around and you can easily find somebody on their drone. Now for Maestro, I just want to show you this cool Evil Eye spot that I found in an open area of bank. If you vault on top of this black box right here, and then you melee this lamp, you can actually sprint on top of the shelf, then melee this lamp, and then you might fall off, but you can get right back up, lean to the right, and then look as high as you possibly can and place the Maestro on this wall right here. An attacker is never going to be able to find out how to melee that, and if they do, they're going to get shot. But this camera can see most of every plant spot in the entire objective, allowing you to get a lot of free kills. Next up is Alibi, and my tip for Alibi is do not equip any skins on Alibi. Not even, like I have, a gun skin. if you don't have any gun skins or uniforms or headgears equivalent to alibi, when people swing you, there's going to be a moment's hesitation of them not shooting you because they think just for a second, even if it's just for a half a second, that you might be a clone. And that little second of hesitation, you can use to kill them. The next operator in the video is Clash. And there's this really cool Clash strat that I saw in Pro League that I think you should learn. All it is you put a deployable shield down right here, and then you just sit on your Clash shield and you just infinitely shock people on the balcony. They can't come up to you and melee you because they have to vault over a shield. And if they do that, you can have a teammate right here that just swings and kills them because they're locked in an animation. And you can just sit and shock people on the breach infinitely until you literally kill them by shocking them to death. It's a really, really funny strategy, but it does work. Now, let's say you're playing bedroom and bathroom as the bomb site for Skyscraper, and you want these bathroom walls electrified. Well, there's this really cool K trick that you can do. All you have to do is come upstairs into lounge, shoot this left yellow pillow right here, and throw your Cade Claw under the couch just like that. And that Cade Claw will electrify both of the bathroom walls. Next up is Mozzie. Now, a lot of Mozzie players will put their pest at the top of a staircase like this, but I think this is a mistake because anybody that's good with their drone is just gonna drive their drone up to here on the staircase because they know the pest is at the top, and then they can sit right here and still get information on anybody in this room, right? So it's kind of useless. So what I do as a Mozzie player is I'll put my pest right there because they're gonna assume it's at the top when in reality it's just slightly below the top, and then you just get a free drone because of it every time. Now, next up is Warden. Warden, pretty typically on this bomb site, is used to counter Glaz upside down rappel on this door. Now, I'm of the personal opinion that Glaz always beats Warden, but in this instance, maybe not. As Warden, there is this really cool angle you can get if you go to the left side of this bomb chassis and you just go right up against this wall and you slightly just inch forward until you get this pixel angle. You can actually see anybody on this door. So if they're upside down rappel as Glaz, you can just shoot them, and most Glaz players cannot shoot that tiny pixel of an angle. Now, our next operator is going to be Goyo. There's this cool Goyo spot you can use to deny the default plant behind half wall on the top floor of Chalet. If you put a Goyo canister on this wooden pillar, you kind of have to find the prompt for it right about there, and you pop the Goyo canister right here. The fire will actually spread to the default right here, so if they're planting in the default, they'll get burned to death. Next up is Wamai. Now, one thing I think is pretty underrated about Wamai is that you can catch ace gadgets. So if you know they're going to ace this armory wall right here, you can just throw a Wamai disc like on the chandelier or on the ceiling right here, and those discs will catch all of the aces you need for the wall, so you don't even need wall denial. And then because he has impacts, he can just sit and impact trick their breach too, and if you do it quick enough, you won't get shot and they just can't open the wall now. Next up is this tip with Oryx. A lot of the times when you're playing Cafe, attackers will rappel outside of these windows to pressure piano. And as Oryx, if they're ever repelled, because they're on rappel, they actually can't look behind them physically. So you can just Oryx dash through this barricade, dash again, and shoot anybody here. And unless they're on the roof, they can't shoot you back. And then once you get your kill, you can just dash back inside, and then they just can't do anything. You just got free kills. Next up is Melusi. Now, if you're ever placing a Melusi Banshee somewhere, like let's say for White Stairs, you never want to put it at the top of a staircase. Instead, what you need to do is put it in the middle right here to where it's over the staircase. That way, that Banshee right there will activate when they actually walk up and they're still on the stairs, allowing you to be able to react a lot faster and actually kill them. As opposed to if the Banshee was here, that would allow them to walk all the way up to here before that went off, allowing you to have like no time to react before you were in a gunfight already. The next operator is Aruni. Now, as Aruni, if you reinforce a wall just like this, and then on the other side of that reinforcement, you just punch holes in it right here. You can actually place your BP inside the holes just like this, and then you can put an Aruni gate on it. That way, they won't be able to get your BP at all, and then they also can't shoot the sides of it because it's in a soft wall, making this BP actually bulletproof. Now let's move on to Thunderbird. She's a pretty hard person to get any cool tips and tricks for. But I will say, as Thunderbird, if you go and you're low HP and you go to a healing station, actually going to the healing station, getting healed, and then waiting for it to heal is a lot slower than just putting down a healing station, letting it heal you, and then picking it back up, and then just putting it down again. Because that station has to recharge, and it takes a long time to recharge, when you pick it back up and you put it back down, it doesn't recharge anymore. The recharge timer is reset, so you just get another free heal again, and you can just keep picking it up, putting it down, getting healed again, and it's a lot faster than waiting for the passive healing. Next up is Thorn. Now for Thorn, I have a pretty cool strat for the basement of Chalet. What you want to do is put a Thorn trap behind this trash can right here, and then another Thorn trap next to the wall right here. What's going to happen is they're going to walk into the breach, right? And because these mines are so terrible that they're so delayed, they're going to walk in and not even get this activated until they're behind the trash can. Then this one's going to activate, and then they have one of two choices. They can either sit here and shoot one, not see the other one, and still die, or they can shoot neither of them and die, or they can try to run away. But because this one activated so long ago, as they're running away, it already will have been exploded and kill them. So it's literally a guaranteed death if none of these get destroyed by the time that they try to plant in the default spot. Next up, I have Azami. Now, there's a lot of cool tricks you can do with Azami, so this is a pretty hard one to come up with, but by far my favorite trick is this bunker angle you can get. If you open up the double door just like that, and then you crouch and walk into the reinforcement, and then put the Azami barricade as low as you possibly can and as far as to the left as you possibly can, then throw your kunai, look at the wall to block the kunai from making a full circle, then stand up, throw your next kunai slightly above the red part of this reinforcement, just like that, and now you can prone, shoot out this, and you have a pixel angle onto anybody in barrels. It's very hard to hit as an attacker. Next up is Soulless. Now, if you're ever playing this operator, you might know that this gadget runs out quickly. It's already halfway done, and if you want it to last a little bit longer, most people don't know that when you overclock it, you actually reset the meter fully, and then you get much more time, and everything that you scan is pinged. So if you ever want it to last a little bit longer, all you have to do is set it in overdrive, and it'll do it. Next up is Fenrir. A lot of you might know this strat, but it's still really powerful even if you don't. If you're on Nighthaven Labs, you can throw a Fenrir mine outside on this beam right here, and then activate it, and the second that they walk in, wait like 2 seconds for them to get fully blinded, and then you can just swing them and kill them. And even if they run away, you can still kill them because they're so close to the door by the time that they get there. It's a free kill every time. Next up is Tubarao, and my tip with Tubarao, if you're playing with a Cade or with a Bandit, is look at what their utility is and play off of that. If you have a Cade claw at the top of the wall, put your Tubby at the bottom. If you have Bandits at the bottom, put your Tubby at the top. Then when the EMP finally is gone off of the Bandit, you can shoot your Tubby canister, and then because your Bandit or your Cade re-electrified the wall, it will destroy anything on the wall before the wall gets opened. But if you keep your Tubby on the entire time and you don't shoot it, that's giving them more time to re-EMP your Bandit or Cade, which will just waste another one of your canisters and could potentially get the wall open. So make sure you're shooting it by the time that the Bandits and the Cades are re-electrified, and then you're fine. Next up is Scopos. Now, a lot of people don't know, but if you're being Deimos tracked, or even Jackal tracked for that matter, if you switch clones, the Deimos track and Jackal track will track your idle shell, and then you can just run around freely. So if Deimos tracks you, just switch bodies, and he'll only be able to track the one that's sitting still. Same thing with Jackal. It's that easy. And if you're playing next to your other idle shell, it makes it increasingly, like, more powerful. But that's it for today's video. I stream every single day on Twitch, so check that out. And if that's not your speed, check out this next video, and I'll see you there.